Hi, my name is Indira, and in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background and how I discovered the practice of connecting. For the past 20 years, I have been guiding, training, coaching thousands of people, CEOs and executives in this practice of connecting. But before I get into that, I want to share with you my journey that led me there and why this is something that I want to share with you for your life. After I came out of college, like many of you, I was getting ready and prepared for life. I took a job at a hotel front desk because that was the only job I could get, and I needed to make money and pay my bills. And it was so frustrating because I knew every single day there was so much more to me in my life, and I knew I wanted to go into sales, but everyone I spoke with said, you can't go into sales because you don't have any sales experience. So there I was stuck in this hotel front desk position for months. And I remember distinctly, I got into my car and I drove to an area where they had many hotels. And I literally went from hotel to hotel. And I said, I'm looking for a position in sales. And every single one of them said, what's your experience? And I said, I have none. And they said, well, we can't hire you. And I'm sharing this because it is very pronounced in my mind. Someone says no, and maybe 2 or 3 times, I probably go home and eat some chocolate, right? But I really found myself compelled to stay so disconnected from any thoughts my mind had about this. And I remember it was around 5 or 6 in the evening. This was the last hotel, and I sat with this guy. I remember his name was Gary, and he said, "You know what? I never hire someone who doesn't have an experience, but I am going to take a chance on you." And in that moment, I understood something that it was years later that I actually got what it was. From that moment on, took in 3 years, I soared in the hotel industry. I was extremely successful in the sales position, and I moved on to other positions in sales. In 4 years, I moved 3 times. I was poised to open an office. None of this was making me happy. None of this was fulfilling me. None of it was what I wanted. And when I thought that making the money was going to make me happy, it didn't. And I pulled the plug on everything. And I packed up all my stuff and I put it in a storage, and I moved back to my mom. So I had done the thing we're supposed to do. I had gone out there and stepped out to make it all work, and it wasn't it. And for 2 months, we would go to the herbal store and make herbal tea. And I literally felt like I brought myself back to life. I really discovered and supporting people in living a life of possibility, because I had discovered that there was something that I can do, I can fulfill, that wasn't just a job to make money. And I was happy doing that for a while. And it was there that I really got powerfully trained in being an extraordinary coach. And it was also during that period that my search kept intensifying, having me be the me that I wanted to be. And I literally, in that moment, knew that what I was looking for and what I was searching for did not exist in the world outside of me. I had done it all. I'd read all the books. I'd listened to all the tapes. I'd even spent a decade transforming people's lives, and still something was missing. And I quit that job. And then I knew that I had to go to myself. I had to somehow figure out whatever this was that I was coming up against, and still not finding what it is that was making me me. It was absolute. There was no way I could go into life again. And it was one day as I sat in one of my rooms in my home, and I started to recall and remember how all of my life, all of the things that I knew I had to do, that I understood I needed to do, that I followed, was really from this part of me that my mind kept saying, you need to do this, you should do this, this is not right about you, this is wrong about you. And that there was a part of me that was always guiding me to something else. And in that moment, I had access to that part of me. And that part of me I discovered is called the self. And it was then that I discovered that everyone, you, me, everyone, have that part of them called the self. And what was really remarkable is from that moment, I actually got that when I can connect to the self and I can listen for what is coming from myself, what's the answers, what's the guidance, what's the actions to be in, and I can trust that part of me, and then I can take the actions that I got from that part of me, that my life would be different. So understood in that moment that from the mind, the life that I want will never happen. I will live the rat race. I will live in stress. I would live in fear. I would live in concern. I would live in worry. I would live in the issues that I keep dealing with every single day of my life. But I understood that from the self, that what I will get when I connect to the self is totally different than what I got from the mind. I understood that the self is the part of me that loves me, the part of me that know my worth, the part of me that feel connected to others, the part of me that know that I am not alone, the part of me that will always give me the actions to live the life of my true self. And so I started to do that. I started to have small gatherings, and people came and people started to practice connecting, and they started to see these results in their life. They started to have different conversations with their spouses and their children. They started to look at their relationships differently. And then soon I led events and workshops, and then I wrote my book. Now I lead a year-long program with my husband with CEOs and executives. You see, what I discovered is the answers that we get from our mind keeps us in these patterns that keeps us stuck. I did everything I knew how to do. I did it all. But it didn't take me to where I knew. I knew somewhere inside of me that there was this life that I could have. It was not possible from the mind. It was possible through the practice of connecting. I have an experience of knowing who I am. I have an experience of being profoundly related to the part of me called myself. And that is where you'll discover yourself. That is where you'll find your best life.